What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Angling Unraveled with Mitch and Doug. This week's going to be a little different. Doug's still driving from here. He's heading to Hartwell to go do some practice, get ready for the the Hartwell event for next season of the NPFL. He's got a couple things going on. He's just going to be doing that, going around, going out with a couple buddies to figure out some hot spots on the lake for that time of year and stuff like that. So we're going to be doing this one probably solo. He said he's going to jump in if he can. We have Nic Rand getting on here in a little bit. He is a Michigan hammer. Dude finished fourth in the Bass Nation National Tournament back on Hartwell here a couple months ago, and he actually did something a little different. He actually wasn't out live scoping like everyone else was. He was up shallow, doing it a different way. So we're going to get a little input on that. But until he gets on, we got a couple things to talk about. Got a bunch of our new Douglas rods in last week, and man, let me tell you what, we took them out today. It was 50 degrees here in Michigan through the 7-Eleven X Matrix with an Alabama rig on it. And boy, let me tell you, that thing was amazing. And then we threw a little flat side. Y'all know I love my flat side crankbaits on a 6-8 medium heavy. That was an X Matrix also, and we freaking hammered them. We caught about 4 or 5 good ones out at the catching pond. And finally, I came in. The water temp was getting a little cold, and I just didn't feel like staying out no more. I had a bunch of stuff to get done, get things ready for the podcast. But yeah, so it's pretty fun. It's been a good week. Getting ready to head back to New Hampshire. Hope everyone had a very Merry Christmas. We actually got a bunch of really good stuff this year. My wife got me a bunch of Lucky Craft crankbaits. Jake from Jake's Lure Joint, she ordered some stuff from him, got me some of the new Wacky Tons. If you guys haven't seen them yet, it's something you guys need to check out. It's going to take them wacky worms to a whole new level. Them new Wacky Tons, there's a bunch of different ways to rig them. I'm actually going to throw them as a wacky rig, and then I'm going to cut them in half and put them on a swim bait head and basically for Demiki and stuff like that. It'll make it's almost like that new Wheeler bait that he came out with where it's got just the nub on the end. So it'll sit there and shake as it's coming through the water column. There's a bunch of that stuff going on. What else do we get? We got some of the Proficiency P413s. My buddy Brian got me a bunch of those. My wife actually got me I think she got me 5 or 6 of them, but she ordered lefties. So we are going to probably be selling those. Seeing how I can't throw a lefty one unless I'm flipping, and I'll probably keep 1 or 2 of them for that reason. But other than that, I don't throw a left-handed reel. But yeah, we don't have a whole lot going on other than that. Hopefully you guys had a good Christmas. If there's anything you guys want to talk about until Nick gets in here, let me know. Or else we're just going to keep rambling on. We got a couple shows we're going to be working. If you guys are going to be in Lawrenceburg, Indiana, January, I think it's 14th and 15th. I'm going to be down there working that show with Jake from Jake's Lure Joint. And then we're going to be working the New England show for one day with Douglas Rods. And that one is February 3rd and 4th, I believe. I think I'm going to the 4th. And then there's a show in Niagara that I'm actually going to be working that whole show. That's going to be February 15th through the 18th. And we're going to be doing tank demonstrations and everything there with the new Douglas rods. Playing with the new Era series that's coming out. That's their new $100 rod. Dude, that thing is freaking sweet. It's probably the best rod that's under $100 out there. It's like $99. Very well affordable, very well built rod, lifetime warranty. You just can't go wrong with Douglas rods, let me tell you that. And then other than that, man, I don't know. I got a couple of them shows that I'm working for help out these companies and all. And then other than that, we're just going to be focused on social media, waiting until probably April. April is when my boat's probably getting unwrapped. We'll pull the shrink wrap off of it and get her floating again, hopefully. Oh, no, I guess I will be fishing a tournament in March. So my buddy that's buying my other Camus from me, we are going down to fish the Brandon Belt tournament on Toledo Bend in March. So the big one that they do, it's $100,000 payout, everything, blah, blah, blah. we were talking about it tonight, and we were trying to decide on when we were going to go down to pick up his boat because it's still down in Louisiana. And we decided that I was like, I forgot about that tournament. I was like, hey, Chaz, you want to go fish this tournament that we can possibly, if we catch big bass, win a new Bass Cat Era and win $100,000 possibly? And he's like, yeah, sounds not too bad to me. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's going to be the first tournament I fish of the year. And then we're going to come back, get the boat all unwrapped, get it ready to go, make sure everything's ready to go. Go out to St. Clair in April. I think I'll be on St. Clair. What are the dates? We already got it booked. Let me pull this up and I'll tell you guys when we're going to St. Clair. We April 11th through the 14th, we're going to be out there hopefully whacking on some big old smallmouth, throwing 3XDs, 6XDs, just cranking them. And you know how it's going to go that time of year. It's the best thing to throw. And then, so we'll be out there, going to get out. I got a guy that's coming with me. We're going to do some filming, stuff like that. And then basically make sure we get all the bugs worked out. Because, we ain't at that point where we won't really have thrown a rod in about 4 months. So we're going to get all of the jitters worked out, get all new line put on everything before we head to La Crosse, Wisconsin for the Bass Nation Regional Tournament. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for that one. I've never fished La Crosse, but I've heard it's a lot of fun. And that time of year, it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a square bill / flat side bite, a chatterbait bite, I think. Might be able to get a frog or a buzzbait bite going, depending on where you're at and what the water temp is. If the temperature keeps up like this, obviously I was thinking it's going to be a pretty small tournament, but heck, at this point, if it keeps up, it's going to turn into a post or possibly hit it right on the spawn. I mean, if it keeps up like this, water temperatures, I know around here in the 40s. I got a buddy who went out yesterday and absolutely stroked him. He called me and he was like, man, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm spending time with the wife today. Like, before I go back to New Hampshire. He's like, man, that sucks because I'm actually absolutely hosing them. He's like, I caught 150 fish in a couple hours, and I've caught a 5, a 6, and a 6.5, I think is what he said, maybe a 7. But yeah, either way, he was just straight up just hosing them. And I'm like, man, that sounds like fun. I'm going to have to go out to the catching pond tomorrow. So we went out to the catching pond today at my mom's house for probably about an hour. I was out there messing around in the pontoon, just dinking around, catching a few in there and seeing how these new Douglas rods handle the fish. And they're by far the best rods I've ever used. And I'm excited to be with them, and they're a great company to be partnered with for this upcoming season. And then we went over to my buddy Chaz's house this afternoon. I had help. They're getting ready to go to Minnesota for go ice fishing. They go out there every year to catch walleyes and whatever else they do. I'm going to go next year. I think so. I think I'm going to go next year. But anyway, he just got live scope for ice fishing. So I was over helping him dial that in and preset his settings in there. And if you guys didn't know that, I do that on the side. So I do live scope tuning and on the water sonar training. So if you guys ever need anything for sonar related, then go ahead and just jump on and send me an email or a message, and we will do that. I can go out and I'll send you the rates that I use for doing live scope training and tuning. So without further ado, Nick just jumped in here, so let's go ahead and get him in. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, how you doing?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Sorry I'm late here.
Oh, you're good, man. It ain't no big deal. Doug's still driving to Hartwell, so he's got some buddies that are going there to show him around Hartwell before the NPFL cutoff. So,
okay,
a little bit of information. So,
when is that tournament?
When is that one? I think that one is in May. I want to say it's going to be a shad spawn tournament.
That'll be fun. I've never been there for that.
No, me either. You were just there for that's where you guys' national tournament was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've been there a few times in the fall there, but I've never been there in the spring. Everybody I know down there now just tells me I need to come back.
Yeah, I heard it's a lot different in the spring than it is in the fall.
Oh, yeah.
And So
if it's any more fun, that'd be more enjoyable for sure, because it seems like every time I go there in the fall, the lake's turning over, or
yep.
the bike hard, or one of the two, you know.
Yeah, it was about the same way Lanier was when we were there this year. It was in that flipping stage where you'd hit it good one day and then the bite was changing every day, and you just had to be able to adapt to it. It wasn't like they were eating just one thing. One day I was catching them out deep, the next day it was up shallow, and I think in the first day of the tournament I caught every fish in less than 6 foot of water, live scoping them, and then it turned into where I think the last day I was catching them in 40 foot out suspended, catching 4 and 5 pounders out there, chasing wolf packs around.
You just dropping on them out there?
No, so actually what I was doing was I was running a weightless fluke. I was putting my live scope on that big NBT screen I got. I can dial in my RBG, my red, greens, and blues, and eliminate it. So my live scope is like 10 times clear. So I was watching them at 160 feet out with live scope, and I was running the turret, and I was panning with the turret and had the trolling motor on high. And I'd just pan back and forth, and I'd see the wolf pack there, and I'd turn the boat then and chase them down. And when I got like 80 feet from them, I'd slow down about 60 feet. I'd throw that weightless fluke out there and literally just sit there and pop it across the top of the water and make it look like it was them shad busting. And dude, they'd frickin' come up and as soon as they start coming up, you just let it drop and start slow reeling it, and they just hammered it. They couldn't resist it. It was just a weightless
supposed to
fluke.
do it, Hartwell.
yeah. So I know you were telling us you caught them a little different out there than what you weren't out deep, were you?
Well, I was doing a little bit. I was like doing a 1-2 punch deal. I've been there so many times. I just know Hartwell is always one offshore in the fall, you know. So if you're going to play percentages, you might as well go out there. Well, I've been there so many times now, and with 225 boats for the opens and every other tournament I've been there for, it seems like it just too much pressure on those fish. Like, you know, you really do got to run up, 80 to 120 spots a day to even have a chance, not even to compete, just have a chance to be up there, and being where we are here in Michigan, it really tends to be an issue with learning those shad spawn, or not shad spawn, but those shad lakes like that is it's an issue because we don't deal with that. Like, you can't go throw a topwater all October, that's
exactly
not like they did.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'm just going to try and do something different. That national tournament was only 60 boats, 62 boats. So never ran way upriver. When you got 225 boats, that is completely destroyed. Everybody's on the bank at that point.
Yep.
They'll practice, 1 or 2 days offshore and end up getting, uncomfortable pretty much, and then they'll go to the bank. And I just got on something that was, very fortunate at the time, but I just couldn't pull it together.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
Yes.
Big learning experience.
Yeah. So I know you were sitting in fourth going into the last day.
Yep.
And then you ended up fourth. So what was your mindset going into that last day? Like, explain to us, like, what was your decision making on that? Like, what led you to make the decisions on what you were doing that last day?
So my whole family came down there for that event. And I told them if I just need to make the last day. I was watching the weather, and I just said, if I can make the last day, then I can really, catch a big bag. It's going to be overcast, kind of rainy, perfect conditions for, upriver, topwater, buzzbait deal. And, I was so excited running up there. I wasn't nervous or anything. If anything, I was just excited to really burn the whole thing down. That was my last day. I've been really being good to those fish. I'd catch a few and then move on and try and replicate it somewhere else. With that being said, I went up there. I had a camera boat and a camera guy in my boat. I had a Marshall from the lake, younger kid that was in college. He said that it was single-handedly the craziest day he's ever experienced as a Marshall. And he's been in the Classic a few times. Overall just missed opportunities, but we don't throw buzzbait in Michigan, so at least I don't. So I had a lot.
I'll throw it a little bit, but there's certain situations where we do it up here. Like there's not a whole lot of lakes where they really hit it like they do down south.
No. And it was like day 1, I only catch 2 fish upriver. Day 2, I catch my limit up there and stay up all day, but I was really just running new water and trying to, pick a pattern up, in which I did, but it wasn't a pattern where it's like, you're going to run this on the next day. It was just like, dang, you just pulled up at the right time for these fish to eat where they were positioned at. And day 3 was by far the best, but they were just not getting it good. So that was mainly the issue. And I was throwing it on braid, so it's just there's no give to it. I talked to a couple locals, and they all said that mono sometimes can be the deal, and I didn't know. Everything's a learning experience, but I tell everybody I'm in my circle with, how many times do you get the opportunity? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. There's not many times you're in that position where you're like, man, I could really pull this off.
Yeah, and I wasn't even nervous. Like, I was going for the win the whole time. Rocky, come. Give me 1 second, man. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, Matt. I would agree with that. It's the same up here, where the only place that I've really gotten on a really good, consistent buzzbait bite, like no matter whenever I go there, like I do down south, is Saginaw. Saginaw, they'll freaking smoke a buzzbait all day, all year long. I
agree.
I'm not going to say a whole lot about that, but that's a fun bite to get on if you ever go there.
There's not many secrets left. You got to keep what you got,
Yeah, exactly. No, dude, I know how you feel, because that's exactly so the Saginaw event this year when we were there for the NPFL, that's exactly how I found, dude, I was sitting there and I came back to the house one day and I'm like, there's a good chance I'm going to win this tournament. And it's like my mom came up she lives in White Pigeon, so she drove all the way up there and stayed the week with us. And I told Doug the same thing. I'm like, dude, there's a good chance I'm going to win this one. He's like, what? And I'm like, dude, I found fish. Like, I found one spot that the last day where I casted on it 4 times, caught 4 fish, and they all kept getting bigger. And I was watching, I started throwing, dude, I was throwing a drop shot down there in 45 foot with a 1 ounce sinker, and they were eating it before they hit the bottom. And I couldn't let it touch bottom because there were so many fish stacked up there. So then I was like, let's, for shits and giggles, let's throw a 6XD out. They were chasing it up out of 30 foot of water, 45 foot of water, and hitting it at the boat. Same thing with a line through. And I'm like, all right. So then I went and found more fish like that. And that's when I was running out there that first day, dude, freaking some stuff happened. Boat almost sank. And it was just one of them things where it just flips your whole mentality. Like, I was going out there, the camera dude that I had hired, he's like, dude, you're gonna win this thing. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I ain't ever seen, like, dude, at one point I was on live, I was on FaceTime with my dad showing him that MBT screen. I'm like, watch this. And I'd flip it down there and be like, 4.5 pounder. Like, it doesn't happen very often. And when it does, it gets you freaking going.
Yeah, and just it to have an opportunity to even have a chance to compete at that level is hard to do. Like, there's not that many people that realize it, that just watch. I think that it takes, there's a lot of stars that have to align to be able to happen to
exactly
get to that point.
And going, like, there's, like, it's hard going from, like, getting used to fishing 1 and 2 day tournaments to fishing a 3-day. Like, a 3-day is completely, like, it took me a little bit this year to get used to it. Like, I fish lots of 2-day tournaments and stuff like that, but to have fish on that 3rd day and have them last all 3 days, it's rough.
Yeah, sometimes you got to burn them down day 2 just to make day 3. So then it's like you're just
exactly. Then you're like, whatever happens.
Yeah. That's how that was like the case for me. Like, for that whole nation deal, that the state championship, that went fine. Obviously had no issues there with day 2. That was only a 2-day event.
I hit the wrong button.
Oh, you're all good. And then we went to Winnebago. Were you at Winnebago?
No, I didn't. Okay. I wasn't there for that one.
I had to burn my stuff down day 2. For some other circumstances, not necessarily me, but just other people around me. And day 3, man, I mean, that's you don't get that many opportunities to even get there. And then when you do, it's like, wow, this is not this is not what I'm used to, you know. And that's the
Yeah,
same thing
no.
with the opens too. Most of the time, you know, I've had experience where it's like, man, do I burn it down day one,
Yeah.
or do you, you know, give
Yeah.
those fish a break and come back day two and then burn it down? It's like, you know, every time I haven't burned it down,
It comes back to
it,
bite you.
yes, every
Yeah.
time. I don't get
Yeah.
it. It's like, you know, but then it's like when you get to day two, you know, you're thinking, man, if I would have just let up on those fish if they're
Yeah.
not there. But I guess when they're there, you got to catch them. I don't
Yeah,
know. That's
exactly.
my experience.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I've had it bite me in the butt before. Like even not burning them down on the first day, where like they're eating good. Like you roll up to a spot and catch 14 pounds real quick, and then you're like you catch your 5 fish or whatever, and you're like, I'm gonna leave it. Like this is something I need to try and make last all week. And then you go back the next day and they're like gone. Like they're
Yep.
not here. And I'm like, it's just one of them things where it just frustrates you. And then you run to spots where you didn't catch them in practice, and all of a sudden they're stacked up there.
Yep.
But
That's
you
exactly what
just
happened. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, completely opposite. That's the way Lanier was, dude. Like this year when we were there, like like I said, the first day of practice, I caught him in 6 foot of water. And in practice, the day and a half I got, and I was throwing a swim bait on main river bluffs, like main bluff, like the points and stuff like that. And I was catching 4 pounders like every bluff wall I went to. Every point that
Were
was a
they up
steep.
top of the water column?
No, I was letting it drop down. They're coming out of the brush piles, and they're sitting on the back side of the rocks, like on the closer side. Yeah, so up a little bit more, but it wasn't they were just there. And come practice, the tournament, they moved into mud banks, and then that's when I figured that out. Like I fished all them points until about 10 o'clock. I'm like, all right, we gotta do something else. And then I went to a bunch of clay banks, and they were stacked up there. I'm like, all right, we got this figured out. And then by the last day, all them fish had gone and they were all offshore freaking eating bait balls. So
Jeez.
it was just, it's one of the things where you just got to keep changing and learning.
On the move.
Yeah.
On the move. Yep.
Yeah. So how do you think, lacrosse is going to go? You excited for that one?
I'm excited, man. I've never been there before. I just,
Yeah.
you know, the only anxiety I have about the whole event really is just maneuvering the whole river. You know,
Yeah.
I was at the Clinton, Iowa event, and I had to run some water that you would never run before, just because the water was, you know, dropping on me, and I had no opportunity anywhere else, so I had to do it. And that's like my main concern. Like if I can get a good idea how to maneuver and navigate the water, I'll feel comfortable, I guess. But you know, my experience on the Mississippi River too is they're not everywhere, but when you find them, you know, they tend to stack up.
Yeah. That's what Doug told me. He's like, he was going to get me out there before and all, just because of the fact that he said that early in the year, they might not have all the buoys up marking the wear dams and stuff yet. And also he's like, I'm going to make you lines and show you where you can and can't run, because if you don't, you're going to destroy your boat. He's like, because they more than likely won't have them up yet. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be interesting. And I was like, that's all I need is to look like you with my motor sitting on the back of my boat.
We just need Dan Stoll to just navigate for us in front of us. You know?
Yeah, Lord knows he'll run through anything. Dude, did you see him at when we were back there at Alpino when he was trying to get back to that bridge?
I didn't see him, but I could hear him.
Dude, I was sitting there and I was like, dude, you got to stop. Like, you're scaring all the fish away from all the way back there. And it was nuts. I was like, I can't believe you tried to get all the way back there to that.
He said he's seen fish from the road, but
yeah, that's what he told me. And I'm waiting for him to send me a picture. He's tying up a bunch of hair jigs tonight.
Okay.
And he was like, you want me? He's like, if I send you a picture, you show him on the podcast. And I'm like, heck yeah, I will. And also, I was talking to him earlier. He was I was on here before you got on, talking about someone that went and smoked him yesterday. And he called me yesterday and he said he was just hammering them.
Really? Yeah, I don't even have a boat right now. It's killing me. I need to get a little aluminum rig. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had his bass boat out.
Wow. Yeah. December, what is it? December 27th?
Yeah, and it's freaking 50 degrees out.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I told my dad, I was like, give it another month and a half of this. And I said, I'm pulling the shrink wrap off mine and it's coming out. I was like, I'm already itching so bad. And I think I planned a trip to go to Gunnersville with Doug in like March. I think I'm going to go down there. Okay. And then I'm going to go down and fish that Brandon Belt tournament on Toledo Bend, middle of March. So I'll probably just hang out with Doug for a couple of days on my way back up. But Yeah.
Gunnersville's fun. I've been there a lot in March.
Yeah.
Good time.
Yeah.
I thought it would
Gunnerville.
always pay off at one point, but it hasn't
Yeah, it
yet.
hasn't yet. Yeah. Gunnersville's a freaking blast. I really didn't go the whole time we lived down there. And then last year I went twice. And God, it was so much fun. Had a buddy take me out and we were sitting there he was giving me shit because I was throwing a drop shot on Gunnersville and I was just hosing 3-pounders every cast. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, just throwing a drop shot. I was like, watch this. Boom, 3-pounder. And he's like, he caught like a 6-pounder or something on a spinner bait. He's like, that's what you come out here for. I'm like, yeah, but 3-pounders every cast is a lot more fun than a 6-pounder, like once in a while. But
Gunnersville is fun, but a thing that I've learned about that place is it is like ever changing. It's just like Lake Gunnersville bass, man. It's like one day you're on them and the next day you're not. It's like 1 hour you're on them, 1 hour you're off. It's like just when you think you're figuring something out, they're changing. And
unless it's a community hole. Yeah, unless it's a community hole. If it's a community hole, they're there no matter what.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
It's just figuring out how to work them. And me and Doug whirled up on a community hole this year, and we're like, couldn't get them to eat. And I'm like, let's try it this way. Let's set up on them a little differently. And I was like, try this. And he's like, what? He goes, I would never fish a ledge like that. And I'm like, try it. Just trust me. We did it, dude. In 15 minutes, we had 25 pounds in the boat. It was just dumb. And then it was like that for the next 4 hours. We had people rolling up on us, trying to get us to push off the spot and stuff like that. And we're like, we ain't going nowhere.
Funny.
So what all, other than the regional tournament, what all are your plans for this year? You're going to be fishing?
Man, I'm not doing the Open, sadly.
No, you did those in 22, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work on getting it funded for next year or 2025. Give myself a shot. With all 9 events being mandatory, it's financially tough to make that happen. But we're gonna work on that. But this year, probably just do the big stack, payback big stack, and the team series, state championship. What about you? What are you looking at?
I'm doing the big stack and the solo stack. I'm probably gonna do the team one. Fishing the West Michigan Bass Masters, so that way I can fish the state team. And then I haven't decided. I think I might do the Bass Nation Team Trail too.
Dude, that looks like a great event.
Yeah, that looks like a fun schedule there. So I was looking at that, and other than that, I fished one last year, and it was a good time. And it was the day after we got done on Saginaw, and they had a tournament on Saginaw. So, of course, Doug and I were like, "Hey, let's just jackpot this one and see what we can do." Ended up taking second, so it wasn't too bad. The dudes who won it ran all the way up to Thunder Bay, and they said, "Huh?" Yeah, they said they had 30. They said they had 30 minutes to fish.
Oh my God.
Caught like 18 pounds, 20 pounds, something like that.
Man, I was thinking about just running to Saginaw Bay when we were up there.
Yeah. Well, we were thinking about it too, and then I ended up finding that I was really considering it because I mapped it all the way out to Port Huron where I had caught them when I was there for this NPFL event. And I'm like, let's go. I was like, I was really itching, and then we ran all the way down to Ocala. I ran all the way down there and fished the river in there, and I hosed them in there. But coming out, I started looking at the weather, and it took Doug and I 4 hours to get back to the mouth of the bay, and I was like, I'm not going to risk it. So I ended up running north, found that spring that's way up there, got in there, and started hosing them on a rattle trap in practice. And then last day of the tournament, I ran up there. The state fish off got up in there and had a dude in a John boat drive over the top of them. And then they finally got to firing again. And then a dude that actually lived over there literally drove 15 foot in front of me and Ryan Lofts and cut us both off, drove right up to his dock and basically right on top of the school. And they just died after that and didn't eat nothing. I was catching them every cast there for a while, but
that cold front changed a lot of stuff in that tournament. That was rough. I really struggled in practice actually, but you could understand after like getting on those fish that we were
Yeah.
catching, like how you could not catch them all
Yeah.
practice, you know.
Oh yeah.
Finally clicked, you know, everybody
Yeah.
that was up there, obviously, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. Like where did the fish go for one,
Yeah.
and two, you know, like does it shut them completely off? Are they still there? Because I wasn't seeing them. I wasn't
Yeah.
seeing
No.
them on my scope, you know, and I
No.
was seeing like
Yeah.
hundreds, you know,
Yeah.
like a lot of fish.
Yeah. They weren't there nowhere. They definitely moved somewhere.
Yeah, you wonder like
Yeah.
did they go way up in the reeds? I looked around
Yeah.
in that stuff, but
Yeah.
nope, they were gone.
Yeah, no,
Big
it was
deal.
the same thing. It was the same thing where I just had I had a shitty practice until about I was hoping we'd get the blow day and they would send us to Hubbard because I was sitting on
Yeah,
like 25 pounds a day
I
easily
didn't
in
even
Hubbard.
practice Hubbard, man. I was just gonna wing it out there. I was gonna go
Dude,
for it.
I'm telling you, like I was on like 25 pounds and I was only out there for like 4 hours a day. And I'm like, man, I hope to God it blows 30, 40 mile an hour. I was like, if it does, I was like, we're on them.
That
And
that kind of fits the scope in the game, doesn't it? Out
yeah,
there,
oh
that's the deal. Yeah.
yeah,
So
that
I
like
was just gonna fall with my skills there. If
yeah.
I do well, if I don't do good, you know, just
Yeah, I found like four or five spots where every fish I caught over there was 4+ pounds. And
gosh.
I broke one off that I don't even know how big it was. It had to be bigger than 7, 8 pounds. And I
Oh,
looked at it on live scope and I was like, that's a big fish. And there's two of them swimming together. I set it and the small one started running and it like started swimming away. And the big one just freaking dove straight down. I'm like, oh yeah, here we go. Set the hook, reached down to loosen my drag up, and it freaking thump. There must have been a nick or whatever, but no, other than that, like, dude, I had a rough practice out on the bay. Like, I was like debating, like, let's just freaking go home. Like, this is rough. And then I got on that hair jig bite, that hair jig and rattle trap bite, and I was like, all right, now we're having fun. So I went way
it's
north,
a
and
lot of fun when you figured them out up there. It
yeah,
was mind
oh,
blowing,
dude,
man. I was defeated for two
yeah,
days, you know,
yeah,
and I don't usually get down, but I had a good friend kind of guide me to
yeah,
that bite where, and
yeah,
of course we end up in the same spot somehow, you know. And
yeah,
I felt terrible about it, but
yeah,
that's part of it. You know,
yeah.
all
It
you
was
got
the
to do
same
is
thing.
top 15, right? You know,
Yeah,
let's just go to regionals. I'm
yeah,
actually thrilled to go to Mississippi because I've never been there. You know,
yeah,
obviously everybody wants to go straight to nationals, but that's just
yeah,
one more event, one more time to
yeah,
fish for me. So I'm
yeah.
thrilled about it.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm right there with you, dude. I'm
Yeah,
pumped for it and
yeah,
all. But it was the same thing where we're the same person that was talking to you a little bit. We were talking about it, and I didn't like, I was working my way down a bank, caught like 4 or 5 of them, and I look up and I see him sitting back there. I'm like, I called him. I'm like, so I was like, are you going to tell me what's back there? Or do I need to come back there and figure it out? Because there's other people in here. And he's like,
mhm,
just back out and I'll tell you. And I was like, okay.
yeah.
So I was like, I'll leave it alone, won't touch it at all and all. And then I went north and it was the same thing, dude. It was up there. Like Doug's trolling or his foot pedal went out. So he could jump in the boat with me. And up there in that spring that comes out up there, it was like 20 miles north. I think Chad Timmer was there also that last day.
Mhm.
And we got in the boat, dude, and it was absolutely unbelievable. It was like the best rattle trap bite I've ever been on. It was like every cast for 2.5, 3 hours, we were catching them every single cast, no matter where we went in the bay. And it was just freaking
I,
nuts.
I was I was on the phone with another competing angler, and I was like, dude, you got to stop. Like, this is
Yeah.
getting out of control. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
not catching them at this time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you got to stop, dude. What are you doing?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
then,
that
but
sounds about right, though. Yep.
yeah. And then that third day, I found out that grass bite, like over on the other side. So there was the north side of the bay, like all the little tiny individual grass piles. And all like you'd go like 50 feet and there wouldn't be any grass. And all of a sudden there's like 3 strands sticking up on live scope. And every one of those you pitch to, there was one swim in it. There was one in it. And I was like, it kind of clicked. And I'm like, that's where these fish went. They're hiding in this freaking grass. Next thing I know, I'm going around catching them. I'm like, that's pretty good. So ended up
Yeah,
doing good. And I think I finished 14th in that one, but
I had the smallest limit in the whole tournament. So I got beat by someone with 6 fish, and I had 10. So
oh
I was like,
geez.
dang, man, that's almost abuse, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That first day, dude, I actually hand lined that 5 pounder I had in. And it was crazy. Like that's something that like, I had never seen before. Like I threw on one of the rock shoal or the reefs that they made,
Yep.
and got snagged. Freaking broke off a tube. Well, it ended up breaking like back down my spool. It was weird. Like my braid for some reason just broke way down. Well, so threw that rod down, left. About 3 hours later, I came back to it and threw out there. And I was taking a leak off the back of the boat, set my rod down, picked it up, and things swimming. So I set the hook, and the fish comes jumping up out of the water. And while I see a bunch of line like coming out of its mouth, ended up getting it ended up throwing my hook. My hook hooked all that extra braid, wrapped it around, brought that braid to the boat, and then hand lined it in the rest of the way with the tube down its throat from earlier in the day. I was like, I bet you a million times I couldn't do that again.
Oh, that'll never happen to me. Ever.
No,
I hear about these stories and I'm like, man, when is it my turn?
Yeah, exactly. I'm the same way. Like good things don't like that happen to me in a tournament. I'm the guy that if it can happen, it's gonna happen.
Right. And it got really rough out there. What was that? The last day of practice? Like I was trying to really expand on that deal, and like that's when I was like, why am I like, you almost set yourself up for failure. That place is, just the Great Lakes in general, after watching the weather and being into that experience of thinking you may not come back the way,
exactly.
It makes it tough mentally because, you try to expand on something, but you just physically can't get there, or you shouldn't go. And I have friends that will go, and it doesn't matter what, right? And I'm just the complete opposite. I've had a couple bad experiences on Saginaw Bay, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's not worth my life. I'm just gonna stick it out.
Saginaw will humble you real quick.
Oh my gosh, man! I got stuck at Charities one time, and we thought we were gonna sleep out there on the island. It was man, who were we out there with? There was one other boat. I'll think of his name in a second, but we were out there just catching spawn fish, and it got bad, but we were on the good side of the island for the weather, and it switched out of the northeast, and it was really a terrible experience going back because you got to run with them too, Yeah, they're so tight together, and
it's so shallow.
I'm not the best boat driver, but I'm not the worst boat driver. And there's a lot of times where it doesn't matter how good of a boat driver you are, the Great Lakes will show you who the man is.
That I've been on that like that on Traverse one time. We were fishing a tournament up there, and dude, I sat down in between two swells, and this was when I still had my 98 Triton TR20. We sat down in between two swells, and all I could see was water over my head on both sides.
I've been there,
and it was
That's
like
scary.
looking up at it. I'm like, and I'm sitting there with like 20 pounds in the box. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? And I went back there the next day, and I don't know how I didn't hit one of the giant boulders that were there. Like it was one spot where, because I know I was coming up at the top of the swell, we were hitting 16 to 18 feet, and at the bottom it was reading 8 to 10. And so it was like one of them things, dude. I was sitting there, I'm taking them up
dangerous because it's cold too. That water's cold.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then but that's what up there in Thunder Bay, dude. It was that last day of practice. I think that was the day that Doug and I ran all the way down to Ocala, because they said it was supposed to only be like there was supposed to be no wind or anything, and it was calm. So we ran down there, and we came out of the mouth of the river there and looked up, and the big flag was just standing straight up. And I'm like, oh God, this is gonna suck. So it ended up taking us.
What are those islands there on the mouth there on the South Shore?
The Bird Island and stuff like that.
I ran out there, and I got there, and I'm like, man, it's not even safe to fish.
I
just turned back around. At that point, I was upset. I wasted all the time, but I mean, I went and tried. I just I hate having something stuck in my head, and thinking about it the whole time. It's like, and if I get beat out here, I'm gonna be upset. So.
Oh, my buddy was on them out there in practice, and he got out there doing the same thing we were doing in that grass. And he found some out there, dude, and just was hosing them. I mean, like, he called me and said I had 26 pounds in 5 casts and didn't even. And he's like, I quit. He goes, I could have just sat there and hosing them every cast. And he's like, I stopped. And
they were on that grass. It was like big time. And that they were changing frequently, but you would think like those shallow fish would go back out to the grass, but that North Shore stuff was not pumping them out on day 1 or 2. Really, I just had to. I ran and gun the whole time when I was doing it to catch them. I just see 1 or 2 on every 15 or 20 stops,
Yep. Yeah, that was about the same way as I got when I got on that grass bite. Like you could see them sitting in it almost, and so I'd pitch in the ones that had it, and then I caught one that was roaming in between two grass patches. Like it was leaving one and
They
going to
were
another
big,
one.
4-pounder,
And
5-pounder.
yeah, and I got lucky, dude. And I just pitched to it, and it ate it right away. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And that would end up being the fish that I think that was my fourth fish that last day that got me into that took me over enough to get it into the regional team. So. And also that was pretty cool. Like I knew I needed one more, and I didn't even think with 4 fish I had it. I was like, I'm gonna freaking blow this thing and everything else, but it ended up working out, so I wasn't too mad. But
that's a fun event. What are we on the Grand River next year? Are you gonna be there?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there. Yep, I'll be out there a couple times between then. I got one other tournament, I think on the opener that I'm fishing that's out there, and then and then. The payback, I don't think is going there, but you should. I'll text you after this. I talked to Jeff and I got the schedule, so I don't know if you know what it is yet. So I was calling him the other day about that thing, about some things that it's going on, and also I had to talk to him about that. Have him talk to a couple people. So
right,
but yeah,
some big things happening 2024.
No, not 24.
Come here.
So it's going to be a little bit later, but
oh, really? Okay.
yeah,
okay.
yeah, no, I'll be able to talk about it all in a couple months, about another month or so.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting. And also I brought Jeff in on it and had him talk to a couple buddies, and he was talking to me, telling me the schedule. He's like, you just can't announce it yet because I'm waiting till the field gets full. So I'm like, all right, that's fair. So Jeff said it's going to be the biggest bags that we've ever weighed in. So,
oh man, they're the best guys in the state fishing that derby. So let's do this.
Definitely.
I've been fishing out of my league my entire life, so just more to learn.
Yeah, exactly. So, is this your first year fishing the big stack, or?
Yeah, yep. This will be my first year fishing the big stack. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And that's what. Luckily, with the NPFL, they consider it a pro circuit, so I get to just jump straight over. So.
Oh, really?
But
okay.
Yeah, so they allows the MLF guys, elite guys, and NPFL guys to jump right in if they have an open spot. So luckily there's an open spot and I got to get in. So
yeah,
I'm still gonna fish the solo stack too, just because, and it'll give me more time on the water. So only way to get better is to fish more tournaments. So
yeah, exactly.
And the better guys,
you sure give a lot of money away though, because I'm like, hey,
tell me about it.
It costs money to learn, anymore.
Yeah.
So
dude, it's bad. That's what last year I gave a lot away, and also after the
guys don't get it, man. Guys don't get it. I mean, I don't know about you, but I spend a ton of time on the water, and it doesn't quite reflect what, it would if I was going to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
But time on the water, you can't really compare that to anything else either. So
I can tell you last year after I quit my job, how much better I got just in the month and a half where I was on the water every single day. And it showed throughout the year, because obviously the first first 4 tournaments I was dealing with crap from the house fire and everything over there in Marysville, and insurance dealing with all that and everything else. Then I finally got to the point where I was like, I just need to take some time off work, get my head right. I took time off, dude, got my head right, started fishing every day, and then got that 25th place at Eufaula, and I actually blew my lower unit that last day. And also I spent the last 4.5 hours sitting at the marina, basically fishing the same boat docks for like 2 hours or for 4 hours. And I was on my way up to go fish all the good stuff that I was kind of saving for the last day, which goes back to where it kind of screws you every time. And all, but
one time it'll pay. One time it'll pay off, I hope.
Yeah, I hope so too. And then Lanier, I didn't even get to practice that one because I had my board and my power pole move went out. And so luckily it happened on the first hour and a half on Sunday. Monday, they overnighted me when it got there at like 10:30 on Tuesday. Got out and found that swim bait, but I'm like, all right, well, that's all we got. And I had a top 40 there, so that was pretty decent, but it was a lot better than.
Spots are different, aren't they, man? I wish we had them here because I could actually learn how to do it. Instead, I got to drive all the way to Hartwell to figure out how to
There,
catch
there's
15 pounds.
dude, there's lakes around here where you can go out and do the same thing that you can do in Hartwell.
Yeah.
And there's one of them down here in White Pigeon that's not too far from me that I don't leave like 40 foot.
Wow.
And then Gull Lake. I mean, if you watch Zona's
Mhm.
video, I mean Gull, you can go sit 90 to 100 foot and catch them all day long.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's one thing, I you have something to mention about that is like, fishing this big stuff, you tend to miss a lot of local opportunities, and Gull Lake's one of them for me. It's where,
Yeah.
I've excelled there at times. And, if it's during the spawn or the late stuff, it's so much fun and there's so much opportunity
Yeah.
to catch a big bag there. At one time you're only catching 13, 14 pounds. But then, the scope really started to prove differently. So,
Yeah. Dude, that's one of them places that, yeah, we'll let him do what he's going to do. Let me pull up my, for some reason, the comments aren't pulling up on here from my live stream on my Facebook, so I got to pull them up on my phone. But yeah, Justin, 25 is going to be a great year. We got some cool things going. I'm excited to be able to open that up. Oh, Dan said to check my snap. All right, so look at them hair jigs. If you guys want any, message Dan Stowell. He's in the comments on my page. He's making some sweet hair jigs. Which way? Making some sweet hair jigs for me. Those are going to be a player up on Lake X, and we're kind of excited to be able to get up there and do some stuff. Who else is in here? Jake said La Crosse is a fun place to fish. Yeah, Jake, it's going to be fun. Sorry, I'm getting caught up on all these comments. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to miss out on you guys. Vince, yeah, we're going to go to Lake St. Clair this this spring. April, we're going to start going out there a bunch. That place gets absolutely nuts in April, throwing a 3XD. What's up, Spencer? But yeah, dude, yeah, I get what you're saying, but them fish on Gull, it's one of them places that they're getting so pressured offshore now that, dude, them fish up shallow are getting easy to catch again. And I haven't caught,
right?
Dude, I haven't caught as many 5-6 pounders out there as I did this year up shallow, throwing a chatterbait over the top of the grass. It was like every time I went out there, I was catching a 5 or 6 pounder.
That place is fishing really good.
Yeah,
as of late. Yeah, that's a cool place. I after I learned about how they were catching them, I went out there. I was never going to be able to fish a weeknight or any event out there, but I just wanted to be like, am I able to do it? And man, I had a day, to say the very least. And it's not as easy as everybody just thinks. Just go out there and live scope fish. It's not that easy, plain and simple. But the caliber of fish are there. If I had ideas before and I just could never see them, and so then I went out there and just did that, and they were there, which is fun.
Yeah, it was something that I learned down in Tennessee when I first moved down there, and about 3.5 years ago. And I came back up like a year and a half later, and I was like, I wonder if I can still do if I can do what I'm doing down there, this Demiki stuff, and do it up here. And so I went offshore, and I was like, they do the same thing up here, just a little differently. And I was like, this is pretty interesting. So then I ended up doing it. And I was like, this is a blast. And then Zona did that video and released it to everyone. And I didn't fish any local tournaments, and I wasn't doing social media at the time. So I was like, no one's really going to know where I'm at. But yeah,
that Demiki's a different game, man. Where was I at when I was doing that a lot? Cherokee Lake.
Yeah, Cherokee. That's where I learned how to do it.
So educate me here a little bit about this. I have a friend. I actually bought my first bass boat from this guy down there. I ended up just staying with him for the open. But he was really trying to explain to me that you're not necessarily going to see him all the time. You're kind of, it's like ice fishing, literally. You're just sitting in one spot, and then schools of fish will come through. as they're roaming, nomadic fish, smallmouth like that, they're just roaming and they'll come through and you'll catch 2 or 3 good ones and then you just wait some more. But my issue with that is if you're not a local and if you're not educated on what the locals know, then how are you ever going to find fish that you're never going to be able to see?
Yeah, no. Cherokee, you won't. Cherokee's one of them places like I had a love-hate relationship with that place. Like I caught some of the biggest smallmouth I caught down there on that place. But normally if I fished a tournament, I'd only catch 1 fish. I'd go out there and practice and just absolutely stroke them, quit. Like I'd be like, all right, I caught 1 or 2 good ones here. Let's go find this other spot and do it like all over the lake. And then tournament day, they are all gone.
That's another great example, kind of going back what we were talking about, like just like how many opportunities do you have? Like that's a good example for me. I had a great event at Kissimmee. I think I was at 15th place, and bad things happened to me there too. Like I lost 2 really big fish and I should have caught them. I was still 4 pounds behind 14th place. It's actually Swindle, so it's actually pretty cool. I got to shake his hand and everything. Looking up to him from a kid. But nonetheless, back to Cherokee there, it's like how many opportunities do you have? And I was on them to the point where I was thinking I really had an opportunity here. I didn't know if I could win, but they were acting the same way as like St. Clair River flatfish.
Yeah.
And like it was to the point where I was like I can almost call my shot in practice. Yeah. And sometimes when you get into these tournaments and you're catching them like that, it's like it's almost bad. It leads you astray because if things are going to change, then you can't follow suit. Yeah. And day 1 was canceled because of wind. Yeah. Day 2, so I didn't sleep for 2 nights.
Yeah, exactly.
Then day 2, I fished this stuff and I ended up. I think I caught 1 fish in this area and it just turned to mud. But that's another thing. Like we don't have as much clay as they do down on these southern lakes, right? So if the wind is blowing into one area, typically in Michigan, that's the area that's going to be muddy, like off the bank, because it's dragging it from the other bank. Well, when you're on a clay bank lake, it's actually pulling the clay down into the water. I didn't know that. Yeah. So that really affected what I was doing. Dude. It was a bummer because it was such a great opportunity, but like we talk about. Yeah.
Moving down there was probably the best thing I ever did for my fishing stuff. Like it literally when I first moved down there, it humbled me. Like I moved down there like, oh, I'm a pretty good fisherman, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I went down there not thinking I could ever catch a bass again. Like it took me a while. And I was like, I'd go out and catch 1 or 2 here and there. And nothing wasn't consistent. And then all of a sudden it's like, it all clicked. And I'm like, like this is interesting. Like all these points, all of these clay banks are either on, and that's like when we were at Eufaula, that's how I broke it down. I broke it down the same way I do Cherokee is, do they want clay? Do they want rock? What kind? And if you find them on rock, what kind of rock is it pea gravel? Is it chunk rock? Is it red rock? Is it, because all that plays, like it's not like up here where it's their grass lily pads or deep fish. Like it's like what kind of rock do they want, or do they just want clay? Like being on clay banks is like the dumbest thing like I ever seen. Like it's like there's absolutely no structure, anything, and these fish just stack up on the clay banks once in a while and throw a freaking 3/4 ounce football jig on them, and most of the time you'll hose them on it if they're on it.
Yep, that does happen. You'll see that. Like, Hartwell's the same way. There's a lot of clay banks down there. But yeah, man, clay banks are a big deal. And that's the one thing I've been taught, and I tell everybody else too, is if you can't beat them guys down south, that you have no reason and no right to be fishing at the top level. Plain and simple. If you there's some great guys that have competed consistently, have qualified for the leads, qualified for the tour, and that are just northern fishermen. And they excel down south. There's been great examples. I mean, Garrett Paquette caught 100-pound bag down south in Texas. So it doesn't always hold true, but if you can't consistently beat them guys down south, then you're probably going to lose some money. Plain and simple.
Exactly.
They can fish 365, we get maybe 200 days. I mean, this year's a little different example, but I mean, most of the time we're ice fishing at this time.
Well, hell, if you would have went off of like Halloween here. I mean, hell, we had what 8 inches of snow on Halloween.
Right.
I mean, and now to be 50 degrees on Christmas and this whole week, it's like, come on, man. Like I'm ready to do some ice fishing. Just pick one or the other. Like, let me
Right.
do ice fishing or let me pull my boat out. Like,
I'm thinking of those fish right now. I got a couple of these shell beds with a couple stumps on them at this
yeah.
local lake of mine here, and I'm thinking about. I'm thinking, but
Yeah.
I don't have a boat. It's killing me.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I'm sitting here thinking about, all my cranking spots and stuff that's in the
Yeah.
Detroit River. And I'm like, man, I was like, all it would take is for me to cut that shrink wrap off and just to drive over there one day.
Oh, it would have
And
been done. If
I know,
that boat was in my garage, it would have been done. Yeah.
and all, but where is your boat? You getting a new one or?
So I was fortunate enough. I was able to lock in a Skeeter team deal last year. Last year was my first year.
Yeah.
I sold that to my fishing partner,
Yeah.
and I'm ordering a new boat for
Oh, there
next
you
year. So I should get that March, April timeframe.
Yeah.
Just in time for the spawn here. You know.
Yeah.
If anything, it allows me to actually make some money with my job, unless I'm just fishing all the time. You know.
Yeah, because and I'll tell everyone what you do on here, like what you do for your day job.
So I'm a full-time fireman for the city of Detroit. With our schedule, we work 8 days a month, 8 24-hour shifts. Schedule is kind of weird, but in between like my series of work, I have 5 days off pretty consistently. And with that, with my days off, I do real estate, which, you know, ultimately I was just trying to buy a house for a couple of years, and we were really struggling when the market was really hot. And I was just like, you know what, I could just do this myself. I got into it and I really like it. You know, ultimately I would love to see myself just doing that full time, but I love firefighting too. So it all kind of works out because, you know, 8 days a month, and then real estate, you can kind of pick your own schedule. And then the remaining days I'm fishing or hunting, you know, one of the two for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if this weather keeps up like this, where it's not very cold, then you're gonna have to come out. We'll go hook up to mine and take it over to St. Clair, something like that. Get over there, go fish clinger or gull or something. I mean, them fish are gonna be stacked up everywhere, and the way they are right now, they're all stacked up out deep eating.
I think I seen a picture of Zona with a friend of mine. It looked like they were at golf. Who knows where they're at, but they were still catching them, you know?
Yeah, he passed. What was it, yesterday morning? Or I think it was yesterday morning. He passed me coming back, or it was either yesterday or this morning. Either way, he was because my mom lives right down the road from where he lives at. So he was turning into White Pigeon as I was leaving White Pigeon, and I'm like, I wonder where you were going. And also,
everybody's watching. Definitely with the boat
exactly.
wrapped.
Yeah, I hate having my boat wrapped. I mean, I love it for my sponsors and stuff like that, but there's days where I've been like, man, I just want to rip this thing off. Like, it's too much of a pain in the ass sometimes.
Hey, I love getting a new boat. You know, having a new boat and the opportunity is obviously great, but you know, I'm just going to order a different color every year. Not like I'm the guy to follow, and I've never have been, but you know, as I progress, you know, people will not know what boat I'm in. So that's a great thing.
No, exactly. And like, I'm the same way you are. Like, I'm not anyone that should be like, you don't need to follow me. The only place that I get followed a lot on, like, consistently, was like Traverse, and all, because I spend so much time up there in the summers. And last year, dude, it was bad. Like, I had a walleye boat that was fishing literally where they could touch my motor with a freaking drop shot. And then I had another guy that we were fishing with. I watched him flog a fish like 100 or like 50 feet from me, and in the middle of the tournament. And I'm like, this is just dumb. Like, I'm running completely. Like, I'm not even going to stay in the east arm no more. Like, I'm going to the west arm. And then there was a few other times, like, I was just like, man, this is just getting ridiculous. Like, I need to, like, I was at one point like about to pull it off and be like, hey, like, I'll get it wrapped again in a couple of weeks, because this is just getting old. Like, I want some time where I can just go out by myself and just enjoy myself without a million people following me.
Right.
But
so tell us a little bit about who was I was talking to somebody today about that hair jig bite up there. You know, that's that's a fairly, you know, that's a unique experience that a lot of people don't get to see throughout the country, really. I mean,
no. I know I didn't really get to throw it a whole, like I've never really thrown it a whole lot until like the last like year and a half, 2 years. But I don't know. Is that where you were catching them on up there too? Or did you throw it at all?
No, so well, I did. I caught some on it, but it wasn't
Yeah.
consistent. But I'm not a hair jig connoisseur by any means, and I
Yeah.
wish I was. We're in Michigan. You might as well
Yeah.
be. Everybody talks about it, but
Yeah.
just being a resident here, you just don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't really happen that consistently.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't happen for me, but I don't have a lot of confidence in it. But
Yeah.
my brother, he is unbelievable at the thing.
Yeah.
But his whole setup, it's very unique,
Yeah.
and you'll have to be completely set up for that event. I mean,
Yeah.
your whole demeanor for the day,
Yeah.
has to be set up for it. And I like to just move fast and go fast,
Yeah.
and it seems like as fast as you are moving with that hair jig, you do
it's
have to
not
slow
fast.
down when you're actually fishing. And that can be tough for
Yeah.
me. Tough.
Yeah, I know. So when we were on Hubbard, that's the way I caught a couple of them up shallow. Like I wanted to go, like I started catching all my fish out deep. Like everything I caught was in like between 35 or between like 25 and about 45 feet. And I was like, all right, like let's go up shallow. Well, dude, I sit there and I look down and there's 6-pounders swimming all around my boat. And I'm like, huh? Like on top of the grass, like from me to like 5 foot away. Like I'm looking at them, pitching a drop shot to them and everything, and they wouldn't eat it. Well, so I picked up a hair jig. And for you guys that don't know, like if you're throwing a real light, like quarter down to like a 1/16 ounce hair jig, you want a long rod that's real whippy. Make sure your spool's filled up all the way. So like I run a 7.6 extra fast light to medium light, depending on the rod. Like every company's different on them. But just a real whippy rod. And you just fill it up and you just cast it out there and just slow reel it. And man, when they eat that thing, it's not like
what's your line setup?
I run a 10-pound gamma braid to a 6-pound. Most of the time, it's just 6-pound the gamma edge with a floor or an FG knot and all down to it. Just about a 6-foot leader is all you need with a hair jig. You don't want anything real long. But yeah, then you just reel it real slow, and it's a weird bite. Like unless you have actually experienced it, like it's hard to explain. Like they don't knock the shit out of it, but they just like come up and like eat it, and they just put a lot of pressure onto it. You can't set the hook on it because you don't really want to set the hook. You're more reel setting them than anything. But it's a fun bite, and that's what on Thunder Bay. It's what I started doing was I got up in them rocks, and I actually had my block underneath my trolling motor at one point because I was so shallow throwing that thing.
Same.
And I was catching 4 and 5 pound smallmouth with a freaking block underneath my trolling motor.
Dude, how did they get so far out of the water in such shallow water?
Dude, I don't know. I felt like I was back on Saginaw, freaking having that block under there. I had my trolling motor pulled up all the way I could with the block underneath there. It's freaking on top of the water. And I'm like, all right, like okay. So, but yeah, that's how I was catching them out there with that hair jig. But I was throwing a black one, a bucktail.
What do they think it is? People tell me they think it's a leech, or what is it?
Yeah, that's what I've been told too, is a leech, or like the white ones are almost like a smelt. Depending on how you have them tied up.
But a smelt shouldn't even be up there anyways.
Yeah, no, and it's just I don't think really anyone really. I obviously like everyone has their best guesses, but there's nothing that that you really you can't be 100% sure because there's like. Right. When we were up there in Thunder Bay, like there was no other bait up there really. Like I didn't see a whole lot of bait up there. Like I seen a couple balls here and there, but it wasn't like oh hey, like there's so much bait up here. Every fish in the damn lake's up here, and we're throwing a hair jig, and every cast you're catching them. And
I was seeing some emerald shiners up shallow. I'm sure everybody else. I mean, if they were seeing little balls, it was just the emerald shiners they were seeing that. But I don't necessarily think that was the deal, but no, I don't know. A lot of times it seems like I've always been the guy like I want to know why I'm catching them and not just catching them. And that one kind of stumped me a little bit. I didn't know that they would actually get that shallow, which it was just it's such a cool experience to see. I love going to these places that are kind of untapped. Like you do. I do hundreds of hours of research for all these tournaments, and to have an untapped fishery like that is so cool, and just to see how it's won, you learn so much more than just YouTube University in it, and then going to catch a couple fish.
Yeah, I know, dude. That was a weird one because like I had never caught smallmouth that shallow. Like I've caught them shallow before, but not consistently that big a fish. Where basically, if they could fit their fins underneath the water, they were in it.
It was crazy.
You know, like
Yeah.
I've caught largemouth like that, but I have never caught smallmouth like that before. And it was just weird. It was a fun tournament. It was probably one of the most memorable tournaments like I've fished in a long time. Like,
Yeah.
and
I
I'll
think the
just
Grand River will be a good time, man.
yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. That's an open run event, so
yeah,
let's see.
yeah,
Let's see who gets aggressive, you know?
yeah,
That's how
yeah. I
it
can
is.
tell you if I find fish, I'm running. And and all that Camus with that Yamaha on it. I mean, you run a Yamaha and dude, the fuel efficiency on them is just so much better
Oh,
than that
isn't that
Mercury I had.
even like what they were like? I've had a couple shows, and the like coming from their first years to like midway progress to what they are now.
Yeah,
I mean, like it that the fuel
yeah,
economy is.
yeah.
I
The
don't know what it is. I don't know what the miles per gallon is or anything like that. I can only, just jump in my boat and I can show it to you, just the
yeah,
same as what you're saying.
yeah,
It
yeah,
is
yeah.
unbelievable.
The power and everything, dude. It's just unbelievable. Like this is the first Yamaha I've ever ran. Like my dad's a certified Mercury tech, and I'll work.
Oh
Like
boy.
I've ran nothing but Mercuries my whole life. And when I told him I was getting a Yamaha, he's like, "You're a damn traitor," and blah blah blah, and giving me all
House
sorts of crap
divided.
for it. Yeah, yeah. Basically, like a Michigan State flag. I mean, it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
I mean, in that situation, it's more like a Michigan Ohio State thing. But
right.
and dude, I tell you, if I would have had like, again, I don't say this to crap on any one of the Mercuries, but the way that they've done their motors, like detuned them in the last year or two. Like if I would have had that Mercury on Saginaw when I was there, I promise you, I think I would have sunk. And like the power that it had coming out of the hole and just being able to keep me on top of the waves and stuff. Like when my bilge pump quit working and stuff, like it was just the extra amount of power that it had and torque. Like it saved my ass. But
Yeah, yeah.
you
That
know,
low end torque is, if you're ever coming from a two stroke to a four stroke,
yeah,
you're gonna see it. It's a
yeah,
huge difference. But that low end torque, I mean,
yeah,
it's what it, that hitting that power band just to get up on pad, the two
yeah,
stroke life, that top end, it's fine, right?
yeah,
Everybody's experienced a top end two stroke, but to just get out of the hole
yeah.
with that
I tell
amount of torque is definitely a different experience if you've
yeah.
never had time in a boat with one.
Yeah, I don't know what prop you're running, but I ran a turbo 23 pitch on there, a turbo 2 on it this year. And dude, I'm telling you that 23 pitch, there's like no bow rise. It just goes whoop, and you're on. And I
Really?
was running like, yeah. So with that turbo, I kind of find out that's probably part of the reason why I slung that ear and blew my lower unit on Eufaula, because that turbo likes to run so high. Like on my jack plate, like I think I got to run my jack plate at like 15 on my gauge. But
Oh my
I'm get
gosh. Okay.
but
Yeah.
so it's slapping the water. But dude, I'm running like 73 with it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
in
So
the
I was running just
21.
the 23 pitch Yamaha T2.
Yep.
And I had the ZXR 20, and I think I needed to be propped up a little bit.
Yeah.
But it ran
So
absolutely fine, right?
yeah.
Obviously, they most of the time do with the stock prop,
Yep.
but that's just something, to put note on is,
Yeah.
that a lot of these boats will run better with different props.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. This is just what comes stock with these boats, and it's
Yeah.
what's easiest for the companies to do.
I got a guy too that if you ever want yours tuned, and I know when I sent my turbo or my T2 to him, I picked up 3 mile an hour with it. He's down in
Yeah.
Louisiana. You
Okay.
tell him what RPMs and everything you're getting. If you want more of a bow lift or more top end speed, and he'll tune it to exactly what you want. And it's not bad. I think it's a few $100. So
Yeah.
it's better than buying a whole nother prop and different
Right.
sizes, and he can pitch down or whatever. So it's pretty sweet. And
I'm
he
gonna run
worked.
a 24 this year. We'll see how it is. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I have both. I have a 23 for when I get in them warmer water situations, and then
Yep.
just that way. And then I have a 24. That's what I was actually running the 24 up here. I forgot that was before I slung the ear on the 24. So yeah, when we were on Thunder Bay, I was running that 24 pitch, and I hit 70, 72 or 73 with pretty much. I didn't even take anything out of the boat because I think we were leaving for Eufaula like right after that or within the next week or two. So I had all my largemouth stuff in there still. So and all, but Yeah.
You gonna bring all your largemouth and smallmouth to the Mississippi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have.
I don't even know what my plan is yet, but it sounds
Yeah.
like
So,
a
dude,
spawn
I think.
pre-spawn deal.
Yeah, I'm thinking that one's gonna be pre-spawn. I think everyone that I talked to, and Doug lives out that way. Like Doug lives pretty much on Winnebago, so he said he's been out there a handful of times and knows a bunch of people. And he was like, it's gonna be a pre-spawn, but told me pretty much what I need to be doing. So it's basically gonna be. He said it's gonna be a mixed bag that wins it more than likely. You're not gonna win it just on smallmouth, and you're not gonna win it just on largemouth. So. And he's like, there you could win it on one or the other, but he goes, it'll be a mixed bag that wins it. So
Yeah, that'll be fun. It's just 225 boats and 3 pools is a lot, you know. So let's see how it is.
Yeah.
What is it, 200 or 250? I don't even know. 200.
Yeah.
Either way, right? So I was only when I was in the regional, it was only like 65. So I mean, you can't say it's easy, but it's not hard. You know, you just gotta
it's a lot of. Yeah, it's a lot easier fishing against 65 guys and making it than it is 200.
200.
And all because
there's some guys now that entered into this regional event that have got some
you don't even have
experience under their belt.
Yeah, because at this point, as long as if all the spots aren't filled up, anyone can just sign up for it and fish it now at this point. So you really don't even have to qualify anymore. So.
Yeah, just is it worth the risk of those extra 50 spots or 60 spots? You know,
exactly. I'm not risking it. I'd rather just
stuck in the state championship at my own home local Grand River.
And it's one more thing that you can put on a resume. So, and I'll show to these companies that you're doing, and so it's a good thing to do. But dude, I'm excited for the Grand. I haven't spent a lot of time out there, but I've spent enough to know like it's gonna be fun. And over the last 4 years living in Tennessee and coming back up here, I love fishing rivers now. Like that's my thing. Like if I
current fishing.
Yeah, if you can put me in a current, dude, like I'm down. Like we're gonna have some fun now.
And it always scared me. It always scared me until I spent a lot of time.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like now you'd rather just fish current, you know, and sometimes even if you can't, you try to find something if it's wind current.
Yeah.
Or, you know, or the moon, whatever, if the water's big enough. But that's I'm looking forward to it, man. I just hoping I used to always say can't see it, can't hit it, but I'm not sure if that's quite the same at the Mississippi. I hit a few stumps there that and I was just on my trolling motor and I didn't see it. So it's like, oh man. Scary times.
That's the way Wright Patman was and Santee Cooper. They were both like that this year, dude.
I heard Santee can be dangerous.
Dude, I'd much rather run Santee than I would Wright Patman. Man. And I had lanes that I was running on Patman for 3 days, I want to say. And the last day of the tournament, I remember literally running one of my lanes, and out of the corner of my eye, I caught it. And I looked down, and there's a freaking stump sticking this far out of the water, about 3 foot from my boat. And then I look over on that side, and there's another one 4 foot, and I'm like, "Oh my!"
If you can see it, you can definitely hit it. I can confirm that too.
They were bad. Well, I guess I've hit buoys on the Tennessee River at night before running, so I mean that's that was a loud thump when I did that one. And
you'll get that too, man. I've graphed so much anymore that you know sometimes you're just so in tune with your graphs and you're just like, oh, well, just bump that buoy, or you know, everyone's like, man, what are you doing? But just focus.
You just can't help it sometimes. Like I think that time when I hit it, I was actually running one of my lanes, but I think they're pulling more current, so it pulled the buoy over a little bit farther, and that's why I ended up hitting it. Because I remember running it, and I was probably 50 feet from it, 50 or 100 feet away from it when I was running it the one time, and I was like, all right, we'll just run that same lane and we'll be good. And nope, I smacked it. I mean, I busted the rub rail in half, and it didn't hurt the fiberglass at all. It just broke a piece of the rub rail off. So
right. But that's one thing too to know. That's why you got to be, you know, you got to fish down south to you know, hang with them boys, because it's like, you know, I've not ever been the caliber of fisherman that I can go and look at dam output or dam input to determine how I'm going to catch them or if I'm going to catch them or if they're even going to bite. I don't know. I try to do the best that I can. Right. But it's I know enough people down there at Gunnersville to know that, you're batting out of your league when
Yeah.
they're pushing water because they,
Oh,
they
dude.
know
Yeah.
this gallon per minute
Yep.
this is gonna fire. This
Yep. If they're doing.
there's an
Yep.
eddy here. There's just no way that I'm ever gonna figure
Yeah.
that out without just luck. I mean, you really
Yeah. No.
your time on the water, right? But the
Yep.
more time on the water, and if
You
you get
learn.
there, but
Yeah, and that's the way it was when I left. It was that way with the CFM, like learning what CFM they're doing different things, like you said, and you never know. And that's the nice thing about coming up here, dude, is like I can go to the Detroit River now, and people laugh at me because I got like a couple of my buddies because like they would be like, "Oh, there's a tournament on St. Clair. Where are you going?" "I'm going to the river." And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Dude, there's big fish that stay in that river all year long that don't get touched in the summer." And like Doug, we did like a commercial shoot for a couple companies and stuff like that. And I rolled up on one of my cranking spots this year, and it was July, middle of July, and it was like 6 foot of water. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just watch." And so I pulled out a 6XD, threw it in there, boom, 4.5 pounder. Throw in there again, boom, 4.5 pounder. As I'm hooking into that 4.5 pounder, I look over, he's pulling a crankbait out of his box. He throws it in there, boom, 4.5 pounder. And I'm like, he's like, "What did you find?" I'm like, "Dude, I've had this spot a secret for a while now." And I was like, "I'm not telling anyone about it." He's like, "I've never seen anyone fishing it." It was just one of them things, like, dude, when you're down there and you start like learning that stuff, like the stuff that looks shitty, like that normally like all of us up here think of, like down there, that's good stuff. So
Right.
I started looking at
you
all the
start to
stuff
learn that. You start to learn
yeah,
that if you fish down south enough, it's like, man, you fish everything that's good. You just got
yeah,
to start fishing the shit stuff.
yeah. So I started, it was that way. I started looking at the stuff that normally I'd be like, "Oh, that looks like shit." So I would stop and fish it. And then like, oh, lo and behold, there's big bags here.
That
So
happens more often than you think. I mean,
yeah,
for me at least, I mean, shoot,
yeah,
I
no,
fish so much that it's like you fish everything that's good, and then you're like, you're defeated, and then it's like,
yeah,
well, you quite haven't fished everything.
yeah.
Let's go try something
Well,
stupid, really.
yeah, and that's what Bryant Smith, we had him on a few weeks or about a month and a half ago, and all Elite Series guy that weighed in that big bag up on St. Lawrence this year. And he said that that's how he qualified, was he'd drive around and wait to see all the, because everyone was always on the A stuff and the B stuff like you'd want to fish. And he started looking at all the stuff that was like, "Oh, that looks like complete trash." And he said that's how he ended up fishing his whole year and ended up qualifying that way, just because no one fishes that stuff. So them fish don't get beat up.
Man,
And
you gotta respect somebody that can qualify now with 9 tournaments.
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, dude, I know it's
yeah,
rough.
it's
And when
3
they put,
tournaments you can get lucky, a little
yeah,
bit, 3 events.
yeah,
Like if anything, I got unlucky that I didn't catch them. Like I felt
yeah,
like I was on them for 3 tournaments in a row, but it's
yeah,
like, man, to do that 9 times,
yeah.
I mean, the field that they're gonna have next year too. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's
And all it's going to do is make the Elite Series that much more harder and all to win a tournament in, because not, you can't just be good at largemouth or
right.
smallmouth or spots. Like you have to be good at literally everything. And if you're not good at everything, then you're not qualifying. And all, I mean, it's just it's a whole different animal now.
It is. That's I fished as a co for a year, and I forgot to fish with like Charlie Hartley. A lot of people know Charlie Hartley. I got Patrick Walters.
Yeah.
Who else did I fish with? Chris Peters. He's a Lake Chickamauga guy. He almost won a really big event on Chickamauga. And it's like, man, it's like when I was fishing with them, I'm like, dang, they're not doing anything different than what I would have done. It was kind of like dang, I could probably do this. And then I did, but I was only fishing 3 events at the time. So, the opportunities far greater in my eyes. But, truthfully, 9 events, you're the best angler, plain and simple. If you can do it that way, but it's financially speaking, it can be tough. And there's a lot of people that are much better than the guys that qualify in 9 events, but they just can't afford to do it.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
they don't have the
sponsorship money, the financial backing and stuff like that to do it.
And they probably never will, right? Because they don't
they
have the business mindset. They don't have that relationship opportunities out there.
For the average blue collar worker, it's easy to get 3 weeks off. Like you can plan your vacation around. Most companies you get at least a month more anymore between sick time and everything to be able to have 9 weeks or plus off, because you figure you got, if you take 3 days, 4 days of practice plus 3 days of the event, then you got a day driving each way. I mean, the average guy, it kind of takes it out for the most part. But
I think that's why Bass did this the nation the way that they did. to get those guys back in and
Yep.
paying entry fees and to get them back and give them an opportunity. But it's like just to bring it full circle, it's like how many opportunities do you have? I only had to compete against 60 guys at the national level, and I was 1 pound from going to the classic. But now I have, if I go to nationals, it's going to be 250.
Yeah.
Like you catch what I did, there's not even a chance. Like, you're going to be like, hey man, thanks for coming.
Yeah.
You're in 40th place. See you later. But
Thanks for donating.
maybe that's why you didn't make it. Maybe that's why you don't
Yeah.
make it. I don't know. It's just it's crazy to get in your head in regards to that kind of stuff. But you can't. You just got to keep pushing forward. That's all.
Yeah, definitely. That's all you can do. Well, I guess it's about getting it to be that time. Do you have anyone you want to thank, or any sponsors or stuff like that?
Honestly, just Yamaha Skeeter has been the biggest thing for me as of late. Discover Kalamazoo was a big help last year and this year. We're actually doing a program with Discover Kalamazoo, and we're working with them to try and build the fishing industry within the county of Kalamazoo. And kind of surrounding areas, just to bring more anglers here. Like, guys, we got some good fishing here. I mean, Gull Lake is the top Southwest Michigan fishery here. We have the Kalamazoo River. There's untapped fisheries here that have been producing bags for years, and we're just trying to work on getting that shown a little bit. Everybody thinks of Michigan as a smallmouth place. Let's go fish Lake St. Clair, but that's about it, man.
There's a lake over here that consistently pulls out 28-pound bags, and I'm not going to say where at on this live, but it ain't nothing to catch a 28 to 30 over there. So
hey, there's nothing like largemouth fishing in northern part of the United States.
If you want to go to a place where you can catch 150 largemouth a day, then you need to come up here.
Yep. But agreed.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate you getting on and jumping on with us.
Thanks for having me.
Sorry, Doug wasn't able to get on tonight, and I think he's just pulling into Hartwell. So,
oh man, tell him to enjoy that.
I will. Yeah. So, well, thank you again for getting on. Thanks everyone for getting on another episode of Angling Unraveled. We'll be back next week. We got a surprise guest coming on. I think we're going to be we got a couple of different people. I'll wait to announce that. It's going to be interesting. So, you guys, thank you again for getting on. We'll see you guys next week.
Great. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it.